What's up, locals? I'm waiting for YouTube to load. YouTube, are we live? I think so. It looks like we're live. Okay. Hey, I wanted to give a quick live stream / stream of consciousness. Maybe we'll call it a live stream of consciousness about what we just saw in President Biden's speech. There's a few things that he talked about that have been on my mind before this speech even took place. But I wanted to wait today until he made this announcement, until he gave this speech before I really gave my full thoughts on it. And I'm not sure this is even going to be my full thoughts, but it's something we're talking about right now. If I know I look ridiculous if you're watching this. I've been working today, and I just happened to come home, take a break, and watch that speech. And yeah, I'm gonna head back out after this. But so I'll tell you two things that have been on my mind. Why this is called African Rabies is the name of the stream. So while I was working in Montana, I wanted to take a break from all of the political nonsense, and I downloaded World War Z to listen to, which is a good book, by the way. I highly recommend it. I will tell you that if you're looking for something that will completely take your mind off of all of this stuff, this is not the book for you. This is not going to be the one you want to read because there's a lot of things in that book that are actually extraordinarily relevant to today. But two of them are on my mind right now. One of them has been on my mind for over a year, actually. Oh goodness, man, a year and a half now that I think about it. So the first one is in the book. What's really fascinating about it is the hey, what's up, Carlin? I see you're in the chat. Oh man, yeah, you should have. Sorry, I'm here now, but you feel free to give me some input in the chat. I'm tracking with you. So in World War Z, in the book, what's crazy about it, so you watch the movie and it's like zombies immediately, right? Like Brad Pitt, him and his daughter and his maybe he had a son, actually. Anyway, his wife and his kid, they're la, and then zombies. But in the book, it actually is a couple years before the zombie outbreak really gets going. And what happens is they think that it originated in China, which is which of course has its own role, and then the Chinese government covers it up. But then what happens is it's only isolated like reports of the zombie stuff that end up happening. Agree to disagree on that one, but it was okay. Anyway, and it's only isolated incidents of the zombie outbreak. And they end up calling it African rabies. They thought so. One of the first few instances that were documented were in we're in Africa, and so I think around South Africa, Cape Town. So they call it African rabies. And you have these people in the United States and other places that aren't worried about it. They aren't worried about a zombie outbreak because they just think it's this African rabies thing. It's not knocking on their front door, basically. And the way the story is told is that is this UN investigator, and he's going around talking to people, and it's all of his reporting. So the book takes place after the war is over, but it's his reporting done in chronological order. So it's prior to the war, it's the things leading up to it, it's the initial kind of murmurs of stuff that's going on. And then even there's this really kind of brazen, naive, like the government's going to stage this attack on these zombies in New York, and they get swarmed, and it goes really bad. Anyway, the point is that you read it at the first part of the book when he's interviewing these people in different, like Minnesota and a few other places. They're like, well, we had kind of heard about some things, and there was a reporting of one maybe in a few towns over, but we didn't really think it was anything to worry about, right? Like this is just, it's that African rabies stuff. And of course, there's this whole other thing in the book about a fake vaccine that the government allows because it'll make people calm and stuff. Anyway, I'm not even trying to make that parallel, but there is some kind of funny similarities there. Anyway, the point is that no one really started taking it seriously until there was a freaking zombie in their face. That's when they started to take it seriously. And there's a few people, especially that's why I called it and the 10th man, is that you find out that in Israel, they did take it seriously. There was one guy who I think it's on their council of elders or whatever. And after all of these times when they thought nothing bad would happen, and then they were wrong, they ended up having a 10th person on their council who they said, look, if all 9 of us agree on something, it's the 10th man's job to make an argument in the other direction. In other words, the 10th man took it seriously. And as a result, Israel was able to get ahead of it in a lot of ways. What's funny is I made a post in January of 2020 talking about how good the election outcome looked. And I quoted World War Z and I said, it seems like something might happen, some kind of black swan. Doesn't have to be a pandemic like in World War Z, but it seems like something could happen that will screw this whole thing up. So that's just a fun little side note there. But anyway, my point is that it is fucking here right now, guys. It is here. Okay. If you think that I'm being crazy, I'm being like just overblown or whatever, when it comes to what I mean by what is here is this is authoritarian to the nth degree. All right. Our president, and I have what's on the White House's website pulled up here. If you're watching on YouTube, otherwise I probably should have put a link in the chat on Locals, but you can find it whitehouse.gov/COVID plan. Okay. It'll take you right there. This is unconstitutional. This is crazy. The zombie is in your face, guys. Okay. This will impact almost everybody. Almost everybody. All right. Very few. He said that this plan alone will impact 100 million people. 100 million people. All right. And it's part of his, the whole thing. The first thing on this plan is vaccinating the unvaccinated. He openly encouraged, again, frustration and resentment against unvaccinated Americans. He said that they're the ones slowing down progress. He said he understood why people were angry with them. He explicitly said we have to protect the vaccinated against the unvaccinated. What kind of fucked up ass backwards logic is that? I don't know. But either way, that rhetoric matters. And it's not just the rhetoric, it's what he's doing. And I tweeted about this. I had posted in my Locals. I said, keep an eye on OSHA. After Pfizer was approved, then there was going to be, and someone even told me on Twitter that OSHA made some changes a few months ago where they're discouraging people from reporting adverse events that could be related to the vaccine because they don't want to discourage people from getting vaccinated. You know what the VAERS is? The Vaccine Adverse Event a reporting system, I think is what it is. It's a self-reporting system. All of the data we have, I'm going to go on a rabbit hole on the vaccines. I'm not going to go there. I've made videos about it. Okay. Sorry. Can you tell I'm pissed? And that this is totally impromptu. Okay. My point is it's here. The zombies are here. All right. There was one specific story in World War Z where there is this family and they lived in like Minnesota or something. And like the dad bought a gun. And that was it. But other than that, they didn't really have any other concerns. And then one night the dogs are barking and there you go. The neighbors had turned and the neighbors are bursting into their house. But the zombies don't run in that movie, by the way, or in the book. Anyway, and he's interviewing the daughter who's the only one that survived. And she's like, we didn't think that it was anything to worry about. And there's all these people say, we didn't think it was anything to worry about. It's here, guys. It's something to worry about. Okay. And look, just saying this is something to worry about isn't very helpful if there's not some kind of solution attached to it. The best solution I can give you right now is get away from any place where this is going to be required. Talk to your boss tomorrow, today, if you still can. If you're working for a place that employs 100 or more people, or if you're working for any hospital that gets Medicaid or Medicare, any healthcare related thing at all, talk to them and say, are you going to do this? Are you going to comply with this? He also is encouraging, he even said he'll help if governors are getting in the way. of you doing what you need to do to be safe as a school administrator or a teacher or principal or whatever. We'll move the government out of the way and all supersede them. You want to talk about authoritarian bullshit? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? The DOJ is suing Texas over this a heartbeat bill, and he's doing this. He's saying, don't worry about, hey, if your governor passes a law, we'll take care of it. Don't worry about that. In other words, there is no such thing as a federal or as a state government anymore. If it's a state government that disagrees with, if it's a state government that agrees with them, great, they can do whatever. But if it's a state government that disagrees with them, Constitution be damned. He said that he will basically fund any defiance. He says any loss of pay or anything, which he didn't say what he was going to do if the person gets fired. I guess he's saying that they will sue that governor or something. I don't know. I do know that we're about to find out how strong those appointees were on the Supreme Court. We are going to find that out, because there's what happens when a business says, we're not going to fucking do this. We're not going to do this. And they sue. And like one of the last things someone yelled in that at the press conference with a reporter, he didn't take any questions, was, Mr. President, is this constitutional? And of course that remains unanswered. But just a few of the things from his plan here. So he talks about how they're going to make the vaccine. So he encourages vaccine mandates from any employer that's doing it. He encourages it. Now, again, in July, of course, Jen Psaki was saying that the federal government and vaccine mandates, that's not the federal government's business. Biden was even saying that prior to the election. And even after the election, he said this isn't a federal government's thing. So his plan will reduce the number of unvaccinated Americans by using regulatory powers and other actions. Really curious what the other actions are, to substantially increase the number of Americans covered by vaccination requirements. So understand what that means. Let's do a little translation. Substantially increase the number of Americans covered by vaccine requirements. That's another way of saying substantially increase the number of Americans subject to vaccine mandates. You get what I'm saying? It's here. It's right here. It's in your face. In addition, the plan will provide paid time for vacation for most workers in the country. So they have to require PTO for getting the vaccine. By the way, if this thing is so safe and there's no adverse events at all to worry about, I don't know why you need PTO to go and do it. So they're going to require it for all federal employees, anyone who wants to be a contractor, and he's doing that via executive order. So I'm sure that's super duper constitutional. He's also calling on large entertainment venues to require proof of vaccination or testing for entry. So listen, this is where this is going to be a big thing to watch. And Carlin and I mentioned it in our last episode of Unscrewed. Okay. Is think about what happens. Fall sports, indoor sports, volleyball, basketball, wrestling, I guess. I don't know. Whatever indoor sports are taking place at your high schools and middle schools and elementary schools. What happens if you're a parent who wants to go watch your kid play basketball, and the school says you can't watch them if you don't show a valid COVID test, a negative COVID test that you have to foot the bill for? Now, Biden said he was going to make tests available, and some of them were going to be free and all this stuff, and it was going to be for 3 months. You know what happened in France? France did this. This was months ago. France said you have to show a negative COVID test or proof of vaccination. And people were like, okay, that seems reasonable. I can get a negative COVID test. That's fine. And then they just removed the negative COVID test part. And that's how you get vaccine mandates, like that. One step. Okay. So don't think that this proof of negative COVID test is going to last very long. But anyway, I digress. Think about whenever those parents are wanting to go to those events or a college event or anything like that. This is going to, and then he also talked about, any sports venues. So we're talking NFL games, any other, I don't know what other sports are taking place right now. I'm a football guy. Chiefs first game, I think, is this Sunday, right? So, but this is a big deal. He's effectively saying, hey, you need to do this. Go on and do this. And of course, the question is, what happens if places don't? I don't know. This other aspect here, literally one part of his plan is called further protecting the vaccinated. That's like, we need to provide more bulletproof ability to people wearing bulletproof vests. I thought they were protected. What is happening here? This is clown world. This is absolutely insane. So, and one of the things he said in his, in the speech was, again, he said, I share your frustration. I can see why you'd be worried about these unvaccinated people, putting you at risk. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And they have all this data here, by the way, saying you don't have to worry about COVID. You don't have to worry about getting it. They have two of the 4 paragraphs here are dedicated to how safe it is for you to get COVID if you're vaccinated. So half of it, but you need more protection. By the way, so they say the booster, this quote's amazing. A booster shot promises to give Americans their highest level of protection yet. 3-shot vaccines are common, hepatitis B and tetanus, and offer some of the most durable and robust protection. Okay, so the 3rd shot will provide you the highest level of protection yet. And wait till you hear about this 4th shot we're working on. If you thought the 3rd one was good, oh boy, howdy, we got something for you. And they're going to start offering booster shots the week of September 20th. And again, this raises the question of what happens if you don't get a booster shot. So do we now have 3 classes of citizens, 4 classes of citizens, those who've never had COVID, those who had COVID that are unvaccinated, those who are vaccinated and had COVID without a booster, those who are vaccinated and don't have COVID and have a booster? Like, what are the tiers? What happens whenever you have 20% of the population that gets a booster shot? And they're like, why don't you have your booster shot yet, man? It's just the next iteration of the conversation until there's another booster that comes along. So the point is, and if you've watched any of Kevin and I's videos on the road to serfdom, you'll know that there is no logical conclusion. There is no end point to any of this stuff. It's just more and more compliance. And this is on purpose. Anyway, so they're going to have stuff on knowing how to get a booster and make sure that if you want it, you can get it, right? If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. So the last one that I want to talk about is with the schools, keeping schools safely open. So what they're going to do is, he said he strongly encourages all schools in all 50 states to mandate vaccines for employees, all employees, teachers, principals, janitors, lunch ladies, whatever, to mandate that to protect the students. They're also calling for universal indoor masking, maintaining social distancing. So spread those classrooms back out, guys. Improve ventilation. Actually, there is a lot to that. Brett and Heather Weinstein have talked about that. That's actually really good. And it makes sense to me, to be honest. Anyway, so they say, as we work to ensure children are protected, we know that vaccination remains the best line of defense against COVID-19. So the other thing he says is the most important step for parents to take is for them to get vaccinated. Now, understand what this is going to do in the social environment of school that was already kind of like this, but it's about to get worse. So now you have the president of the United States is saying, hey, if you care about your kid, you need to get vaccinated. So you have all of these parents who are probably good liberals, or call themselves liberals, like good lefties, who are like, I care about my kid. Why doesn't I got Diana and Craig over here? They don't care about their kid. Why haven't you gotten your kid vaccinated? And then you have parents who are going to force their kids to get these things. And then you're going to have it in the schools where the kids are only further going to self-sort because the kids who are unvaccinated are going to be the ones who are getting picked on. It happened with the masks and stuff last year. It's already started happening with the vaccines at the beginning of this school year and even over the summer. I've talked about this before in other streams. Okay. So what this is going to do to the social dynamics are huge. I'm going back through the information. I'm trying to remember what the guy's name is who wrote the book, The Big Sort, about how Americans are sorting themselves politically and ideologically. I talked about this in my election live stream, where I'm like, this is what's going to happen with these cities. And I said, COVID's going to be the thing. It's going to be the nail in the coffin. That's where people are going to leave. So that's one of my encouragements to you, by the way, is, maybe you're cool with this. If you're watching this and you are cool with this, I don't know why you're watching this. I appreciate your support. But if you're not, you need to talk to the people at your school district to see what their plan is. I talked about this in the interview with James Lindsay. I think this stuff trumps the CRT stuff for right now. Okay. Because it's here again. This is the zombie that's scratching on our window. CRT, it is important and it still needs to be addressed. And I think it should be one of the defining things of anyone who's running in 2022 in the midterms. But this is the thing to be talking to them about and asking them about. Are you going to be requiring this for students? What's going to be your policy on sporting events? Those are the things you need to be asking. Honestly, frankly, you need to be pulling your kids out of public school anyway. I know for a lot of people that's not an option right now, but this is this needs to be happening now. Okay. A lot of schools probably knew this kind of stuff was coming down the pike, but they have to decide this stuff at school board meetings or a lot of times. Some districts are different. My school district, sometimes principals can just make rules and the school board has nothing to do with it. And they'll say, well, we support building autonomy, whatever. My point is that this speech just happened and there are going to be a lot more people having this conversation and thinking about it than were before. So if this is something you're concerned about, and especially if you have kids that are playing sports or whatever, or that you're worried about they're going to mandate vaccines, you need to go and talk to the people immediately. You need to send emails. You need to find other parents, reach out to them as well. Okay. So it's here. Get ahead of it as much as you can. And if they're going to do this stuff, if they don't know, if they say, we'll keep you posted. What's up, Joseph? If they say, we'll keep you posted, don't settle to say, by when are you going to know? And actually, I need to know that you're not going to do this. I don't want to know that this is something that you're open to. All right. I don't want to know that you're open to mandating this vaccine for my 13-year-old. I don't want to hear that. Anyway, so I'm going to close it here because I'm about to start rambling if I wasn't already. If this is going to impact you, which it probably will, talk to your boss, probably lawyer up, start looking for lawyers now. If you're in an at-will work state, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. It's going to be honest. If you own a business, you need to be, especially that employs more than 100 people, then you especially need to be lawyering up. I don't know how this, what happens if you have a franchise, right? What if you own a franchise and you have 2 restaurants, and you don't employ 100 people, but the restaurant that you franchise from maybe does. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of question marks here, but this is how a lot of this stuff works for these people. Biden even said it with the moratorium with the CDC. It's like, well, don't know if it's legal, but it'll have the desired result. It'll scare the shit out of people. It'll let them know we're taking this seriously, and it will create enough social pressure, going back to Tocqueville, going back to John Stuart Mill about the tyranny of the majority. Okay. Social tyranny is the strongest kind of tyranny. I think I even quoted that in Carlin. If you remember right, I quoted that thing about social tyranny. It is the strongest tyranny. So it's gonna have its impact regardless of whether or not this holds up. The big sort has already started. It's coming. You need to leave the metropolitan hive minds if you're still there. Anya, who's in my locals community and in Dave's locals community, she's great. I think she's in a few others. Her and her family just moved from California to Montana, and she's like, it's free here. It's totally crazy to listening to my friends back home who are still there. I was just working in Montana. I live in Wyoming. It's night and day. It's night and day difference where I live. I'm not saying come live in Wyoming. We're good. We have way too many people. Please don't come here. Seriously, it's jam packed. We don't have room. But it's night and day difference. It's much better. If you can afford to get out, get out. If you can afford to fight, or if you can't afford to get out, fight. What you can't afford to do is not fight. What you can't afford to do is do nothing. James Lindsay quoted Jordan Peterson in the interview we did, where he talked about how it's not just about the cost of action. It's about the cost of inaction. The zombies are here, guys. I know it sounds like a silly metaphor, but the zombies are here. You have to take this seriously. You have I don't know what else. So Biden said, if you're still hesitant about getting vaccinated, I don't know what more you need to hear. If you're still doubtful that whoever's running the government, I'm not saying it's Biden, but if you're still doubtful that whoever is running this thing isn't completely deranged and will do whatever they can to create compliance, then I don't know what to tell you. But it's here. It's here. You have to take it seriously. This is scary shit. I got a pit in my stomach watching that damn press conference. I got a pit in my stomach right now. I got a pit in my stomach even before it started. This is scary. I am, thank God, fortunate enough to live in a place where I am not overly worried about it here. I have people that I care about that do live in those places, and I'm sure you guys do too. So take it seriously. what, at the very least, let's say anything I just suggested to you of thoughts or questions or actions to take are not things that you want to do, or not things that are applicable to you. Okay, fair enough. All I'm going to ask you to do, please, I'm going to plead with you to just think about this and think about the situation we're in. Think about where this goes. Okay, that this is how part of the thesis of the road to serfdom is what happens whenever consensus can't be reached. What happens when compliance is not granted for these things? The people who are pushing them have two choices. One is to back down off of their insane ideas, or two is to double down and force them and use force. Ask yourself if you think that whoever's running this administration is capable of using force. Ask yourself if you live in a city under a crazy mayor who now has the support of the federal government and OSHA, and they said they're going to put out no more policies. They've already talked about not going door to door, talking to find people who are unvaccinated. Like, okay, maybe I'm crazy. I hope I am. I hope that's wrong. But ask yourself if you think, be the 10th man. Is it possible? Is it possible that shit is only about to get worse? And if it is, what are you going to do about it? You don't have to do any of my suggestions. You don't have to do any of you don't have to go talk to the principal or talk to your boss tomorrow. It's not comfortable. It's not fun. That's fine. But ask yourself what you're going to do about it, because it can't be nothing. I'm not saying people always have to give these disclaimers. I'm not saying be violent or anything like that. Of course not. But what do you have to do to protect yourself? I think it's probably, for most people, moving. I think one of the ways in which the accelerationists are right is if you leave, if the same people leave the places that are doing this crazy stuff, there is going to be an A/B. It's an A/B test. What's Portland going to look like in a year? Like, compare Portland now to Portland 3 years ago, even, right? Okay. Like, it's only going to get worse. Same with LA, same with San Francisco. Leave. People will wake up. I do think there is room for more people to wake up. Okay. I do. I know that the media is going to spin what we just saw into like something that's glorious, and they're going to do their thing where they're going to, say, well, we got to protect against the unvaccinated, and do whatever. None of them are going to say this is unconstitutional. They might say it might not be, I don't know. But they'll just cover it and they'll say, this is what's happening. Get ready, guys, bend over. Big Daddy federal government's coming for you. So anyway, all I'm asking is just take it seriously. Is it possible? Is it possible? And if it is, leave. And this is what I was saying, and I will end it here. If you leave, one, you're going to be protecting your family. You're going to be protecting yourself. Okay. And I know, by the way, earlier in the video, I said, if you can't afford to leave, fight. So the asterisk I would add to that is fight for as long as you can while preparing to leave, right? I think leave should be the end goal. Okay. And don't just not fight while you're preparing to leave, but leave. You're going to be protecting your family. And again, you're going to accelerate. I think remnants are leaving too. No, that's probably not, but that's okay. People make their own decisions. That will accelerate the deterioration of these places. That will accelerate the deterioration of the consequences of these policies. And there you have it. So that's it. I'm gonna leave it there. I'm not sharing my screen anymore. I'm probably gonna do another video about this as it gets close, or as I get more time to dig into it and see the media's response. The other thing I'm going to be doing a video on soon is the experiment I was running on Facebook. For those of you who don't know, I was putting blatantly false COVID misinformation, but it was in support of vaccines on Facebook to see if it would get flagged as false information. And of course, none of it did. But I'm going to do a slideshow, I think, on that, just to show, it's kind of funny to see what they would allow. So, okay, that's it. I appreciate you watching. Appreciate your support. This kind of thing you're into, please like, share, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at My Mundane Mind, YouTube, Return to Reason, Locals, returntoreason.locals.com, ThinkSpot, Return to Reason, so on and so forth. So that's it. I'm going to, I don't know, I guess I just got to probably end the meeting. So